Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here this morning with you. My name is Holger Schmid. I'm with GIB, as it was said. I'm an associate expert and will help you start thinking about finance this morning. So just to take the scare away, by myself, I'm not a finance person. I'm a natural scientist, so I'm a scientist, and I have learned finance along the way. So I hope that will help me hit the right language so that all of us here in the room can understand what we are trying to do and what we are talking about. So it's all about financing the transition today. And the transition is about doing new things or doing things differently. So the projects that we are financing or trying to find finance for have some kind of novelty to it. Finance, on the contrary, I would say, likes standards and proven approaches. So there's possibly this mismatch between kind of the novel projects we are trying to finance and what standard financial approaches provide. So today, it's about trying to identify how we can, so to speak, top up. First of all, identify what are traditional financial approaches that suit the project, and then fill the gap with some creative aspects so that at the end, we do have the full package of capital that we need to deploy to build the things that are needed. So I said we talk about creativeness in finance, I would say. So for me, how I want to guide you through the process of what we try to do today is by thinking about finance or what we're trying to do in three different categories. So first of all, it's about impact. What are we really trying to achieve with what we are going to build in our cities? Then through the impact, we do actually identify who benefits from what we are doing. And the beneficiaries then might have an interest in supporting the project. And once we know about impact beneficiaries, we then can go to what could be the appropriate financial tools and sources out there, or how we could engage partnerships in a new way that generate income and help build what we need to do. So how do we think about impact? And here I take a model from the colleagues who are working on the impact model from the new Bauhaus. You will learn that. I saw that in the agenda earlier later in the year. This is additional initial thinking. So I take you through that briefly. So impact, if you just think about it in 5 main categories, and you see them here, there's environment, there's health, there's obviously the economic performance, social cultural aspects, and governance. This, however, is very rough. It doesn't really help us yet to really understand what is the concrete impact and who could be the beneficiaries. So one needs to develop one level further and cut the individual categories in subcategories. It's not about here that you need to read them all or learn about it. It's just a principal idea. The environmental performance, for example, you can cut down into climate aspects, circular materials, water, land use, and mobility. So that already gives you a better understanding, okay, what the individual impact areas could be. And then you can add yet another layer to it. And I hope you still can read it a little bit without asking you to read them. But it gives you then the granularity where you can start finding maybe partnerships and individual beneficiaries. And I just want to highlight 4 areas that I find interesting, maybe in relation to what we are discussing later. So in the environmental impact area, you find, for example, a project could have positive impact on drinking water. So very concrete, drinking water touches us all. There are probably companies who provide drinking water, etc. In the health area, it's about noise, maybe. Noise also something affects many people. Many people are distressed, annoyed by it. So maybe there's a source there. In the social cultural performance, maybe we have innovation happening in the spaces that we create. And social innovation, I think that could be something more philanthropy is interested about, or certain programs. And when you go to the economic performance, maybe what is being proposed creates local employment. So there's an interest by maybe the city, the state, any programs that do care about more local employment. So these are then very concrete impact areas for which you can have indicators and against which a project can deliver. So then how do we take it from that first step of identifying impact to the finance or to partnerships? And here I have taken the 4 different areas of impact and thought about, okay, who could be concretely be interested in supporting that agenda? And here, as I already mentioned, there's local employment. There might be a city program. There might be an employment program. Maybe good to talk to these people. It's about drinking water. There might be a water treatment company that usually has to deal with lots of water runoff. And by having less of that, maybe there's a financial incentive. Social innovation foundations are often organizations that try to promote these aspects of our cultural and social life. And noise level, well, maybe there could be a hotel that just is nearby and might benefit or might like to have more quiet room environments and could benefit and could thereby increase or sell their rooms for higher prices, could have an economic benefit, and therefore would be willing to contribute to reducing the noise level, or businesses that are disturbed by the noise level they are doing in their offices. So these are just very concrete ways how we can come from understanding impact to potential partnership and sources of funding. So how do we think about building up the capital or the financing requirements for a project? So it's good to think about in these terms that I say the 5 here. And I want to draw your attention first to the more pinkish one, the capital stack. The capital stack is what we are aiming for at the end. That's all the different sources of capital or funding that we can identify, that we build up, we stack it up, and together it should add up to the requirement, the financial requirement that we need to deploy the infrastructure that we have planned. To get to this point, we do have all the other categories. So from left, you have public sources. Yeah, these are public funding programs, EU funding programs, whatsoever. Then you have private sources, that could be private investors, these could be banks, etc. Then we have market sources. These could be from bonds, or market could also be banks again. And then on the right-hand side, the green one is funding sources here. And its funding sources are, for example, rents, payments for services, or it could be carbon credits, etc. So these are just to keep that in mind. It's already good. It's good to have these categories: public, private, market, and funding. And then when you build it out, yeah, then you can see how the different areas have these subcategories. One can think about how to build the capital stack. So again, from the left, you have public entities. Then you have the private sources. Here you find philanthropy, commercial lenders, for example, private landowners. Then from the market, you have the capital market and the carbon markets, for example. And on the right-hand side, you might have tax incomes, revenues, property, or market-based instruments. And all that together then makes your capital stack, or the financial flows that you need to repay some of the debt that you have taken. I find it very nice to display that. Again, that comes from colleagues who are also working on the program or in related programs, and they have produced this infrastructure funding finance playbook. I think that also will come out later this year and will be a great source of inspiration how you can do financing. So now with that, which was the more theoretical part, I want to take you into an example that was also developed by another organization, by Bankers Without Boundaries. So they thought about how do we finance the greening of entire neighborhoods where you have individual landowners, households, where it would be very difficult to direct big funding streams and then diversify it or cut it into subunits where everyone needs to benefit from it. So they thought about, let's just create a funding vehicle that can then work individually with all the landowners and do the necessary renovation measures and that are needed for the transition, or be it electricity in terms of solar panels. So here it's a little bit abstract, so bear with me, I will take you through that. So just keep in mind, we now have built a special vehicle, which can be a company that has received funding or needs funding to then do installation work or put solar panels on the roof, to keep it very simple. So that's in the middle. Look at the green column in the middle. So the capital that is there that we have identified, or I will come to that later, that's on the left-hand side, will be deployed for renewable electricity or thermal efficiency, the two lower blocks in the green bar, or for additional green infrastructure. That will generate some benefits to the right. That's the blue column. So it will have some direct financial benefits, which you see at the bottom. Energy savings over 30 years, total value of the building goes up. So these are direct financial benefits that can be harvested and can be brought back, where individual homeowners can pay back to the company that has provided the efficiency upgrade, for example. In addition, the benefits on top are more indirect, are more softer. So they could be around fuel poverty alleviation, job creation, increased productivity, and things like that. So these are things that might not have a direct financial benefit to it, and where you do not create a revenue stream. So which means, and then we go to the left-hand side, the red stack, we do need to create our capital stack, all the money that we need to pay for the infrastructure, out of basically two different categories of funding. So one that is repayable capital, so capital that we can repay with the financial benefits that we generate through the energy savings. And on top, we might need non-repayable capital that can create the co-benefits. Or then it's a mixture out of the two. And then when you look into how it's built together, you see then that the capital stack is composed of what we have seen before, private, public sources or specific programs. And I'm not going into detail of everything, but you see at the very bottom, there's, for example, a citizen participation community bond. Then higher up, you have an existing municipal budget. Or on the very top, you have voluntary carbon offset accreditation. So all these are potential sources that one can identify once you know what the concrete impacts are. So just to close it and to bring it back to what I have said at the beginning, I think that in our exercise, one of the most important things is that We look at what kind of impact we want to generate, who benefits from it, and that will then direct us to the potential funding sources that we have available. I leave it with that. Thank you very much. I hope I have given you some ideas and inspiration how we can think about financing over the next 2.5 hours. Thank you.